Hello, Bismark.
Hi, Mr. Willie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you doing?
No, I'm wonderful. Same.
Yeah, welcome to our interview about the topic proper AI code review. You have been doing a lot with AI lately and specifically concerning code review. So we are happy to have some insight concerning your work. So tell me why developers are starting to hate AI code reviewers.
Okay, so I think the first issue or the first thing that causes developers to be able to, in the middle of like using these AI code review tools, is the fact that most of these AI code review tools don't actually have the team's design decisions and the team's concepts. So, for example, if you're working in a development team, you don't just have like just the syntax of the code. Usually, there are constraints and design patterns that have been put in place by the team. So most of the times, most of these AI code review tools don't actually have most of this context. So this causes developers to not trust the review given by the model or the system that they have in place in the organization. And this is really one of the major factors because AI in general is just a prediction engine. And in order for it to be actually accurate, it needs to be able to know the best practices from the developers and also what the developers think. It's something stable for the long-term vision of the code base.
So my next question will be, when a developer first integrates an AI reviewer into their workflow, what is the biggest, most common mistake they make on day one?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting question. So one of the main biggest issue that most developers face when they introduce most of these code review tools, for example, Reptile, Sonar, or any of these tools that perform automatic code review, is that they tend to trust the output from most of these tools. And normally, the output from these tools are typically just a hypothesis, which necessarily might not be true with the project. So normally, the mistake that most developers make is that they try to trust the review given from these different code review tools, which is not necessarily the best practice.
So when talking tools, which tools would you recommend for those who are new and who want to also do AI code review?
I think there are a lot of AI code review tools out there. There's Reptile, Codo Merge, and I think there's a tool from Sonar. So there are a lot of tools out there, but most specifically, you want to really find a tool that has a better context engine. That's the gathering of context to be able to provide an accurate review and can be easily customized for the needs of the specific development team. So one of the tools I find really interesting with Reptile because they have the proper context engine and their management is really solid. So if you're looking for a recommendation, I can recommend Reptile.
Oh, nice, thank you. So if generic prompts get generic results, what does a highly effective tailored prompt or setup actually look like for a senior engineer?
Yes, I think this is a really interesting question because one of the main issues with code review tools is because one of the main issues with these tools is because they tend to review just the diff, just the changes done by the developers, which is not necessarily the entire context. Normally, when the developer is reviewing a pull request, the developer actually have context related to the project. He also knows the long-term vision of the project. And maybe a team's meeting that was taken, let's say on Thursday, the developer also knows the decision that was taken in that meeting. But the code review tool just sees the diff from the changes and doesn't actually know all of these decisions that were taken by the development team. And this kind of causes the tool to just check syntax issues and logic issues and doesn't really give concrete review like a normal human developer would. And this is one of the most fundamental issues with most of this code review tool. So in order for you to be able to design a system or design a code review tool or develop a code review tool that actually performs best, there are actually two key things that you need to take into considerations. The first thing is context. So that's context from the project, from the code base itself. That's the first thing. So the code review tool is supposed to be able to get enough context to be able to really and accurately provide a correct review for a specific pillar. And the second thing is the fact that there needs to be a feedback loop from the development team to the code review tool to be able to update the memory of the code review tool so that they can provide feedbacks which are aligned to the development team best practices.
Okay, I think what you just said, you will answer the next question, which is this one. Code review isn't just about finding bugs. It is about mentorship and team cultures. How do you prevent AI from eroding the human collaboration inside the dev team?
Yeah, so this is one of the most interesting questions because the AI code review tool actually does not need to replace the manual review process that is done by the developer. There's supposed to be some form of a feedback loop from the development team that actually has a lot of knowledge on the code base to the AI code review tool. So engineers themselves don't just need to be blindfolded and say, okay, since the AI is doing the review, I don't need to touch the review. No, that's not the case. The practical way that I've seen most teams and also my team that actually works is that the feedback from the developer is being sent to the code review tool, and the code review tool now has new context about what is a preference of the development team. So if we can ensure this consistent feedback loop from the review tool and the developers themselves, there are likely chances that the developers can learn from the feedbacks which are added by the review tool and not just discard them as additional comments.
So this is just an example of a complete cycle. So right now we have a legacy code base that we are doing a lot of migrations to a new version of the application. So there are a lot of UI and components changes in the entire code base. So this is just an example of a pull request that was reviewed by an agent that we have developed in the enterprise, because we have different toolings in the enterprise for user experience and developer toolings. So you can see here, this was a comment added by an AI agent as a review on this pull request, and you can see the comments added by the AI agent. But this comment actually does not really fit the decisions in terms of the long-term vision of the code base. And you can see a comment here that was added by a developer noting that this issue that the code review tool has found it was an issue which is intentional. So it's not actually a bug, or it's not actually a syntax issue. It's just something that can be skipped for the meantime. So you can see this comment has been added by the developer. It's going to be taken into context by the AI agent. So when next is reviewing another pull request, it's going to have in memory that, okay, this is actually the best practice and the way that the development team needs the code touching this specific file or this specific part of the code base supposed to be reviewed.
So this is really interesting, because actually what you are basically saying that when using AI to do code review, the human factor is still important.
Yeah.
But generally people think that actually when using the AI code review, you don't need human anymore.
Yeah. So that is one of the most critical mistakes, because unless you can design a system which perfectly understands the engineer's intent, then you can eliminate the engineer. But if that system does not exist, then there's no way that you can eliminate an engineer, because decisions that were taken in that specific team like 2 to 3 years ago are already existing in the code base, and the AI agent which is doing the review actually knows nothing about it. So it might provide a review suggestion that might instead drift the code base away from the long-term vision of the project. So most of the times, if there's a comment which is given by the AI review that actually doesn't make sense in terms of the long-term vision of the project, the engineer can add another comment below the diff and say, okay, this is the best practice that the team decided like maybe 2 weeks ago, and this is the way things are done. And the code review tool will take that into context. When next is reviewing a new pull request, they already has in memory that, oh, this is exactly the best pattern that I'm supposed to use. And if a developer flags the pattern or tries to change the line of code which affects this pattern, then the code review tool now can act as an engineer reviewing a pull request. So this is actually the best practice, not just removing the engineer, but putting the engineer in the loop of the review.
So actually, you are based in Baganti, building software from Cameroon. How is the rapid adoption of AI changing the game for developers in the African tech ecosystem specifically?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting question, because in Cameroon here specifically, we have a lot of resources and we have a lot of potentials that other tech businesses and companies in somewhere like San Francisco and other companies in other countries don't really have. So we have specific niche of problems in Cameroon that as engineers in Cameroon, developers in Cameroon, we can target those specific problems and move faster with AI. So AI can accelerate the development speed of a single team, can accelerate the time to go to production, and it can accelerate also the problem finding in terms of Cameroon specifically. So one of the major advantages that developers have in Cameroon is that with a small team, they can actually move faster, discover problems quicker, and deliver to the community with the help of AI.
Now, coming to the end of the interview, let's talk about future. Fast forward 3 years, the developer will previous of the one who get left behind. What are the thriving one doing with AI right now today?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting question because AI is supposed to act as a multiplier, but the issue is that what are you actually multiplying? So the fundamentals of the craft is supposed to still be there, but the developers can multiply the fundamentals by using AI. So AI gives access to a lot of resources and a lot of experiments that the developers as maybe a junior engineer can do, like testing different architecture approaches, delegating tasks to agents, and conducting different experiments to actually find the best possible way to do something. So I think in 2 to 3 years or 5 years, the multiplication factor for AI agents and all the thing which is going around AI now is not going to be the fact that AI is going to replace an engineer, but it's that an engineer is going to be able to leverage AI to multiply or be productive in the specific skill that they have. And also, the second thing is that they are going to be able to extend their horizon of tech stacks or skills, because AI can provide them with explanations very quicker than having a mentor to be able to mentor them, and also they can experiment quicker. So those are the two things. So the engineers that are going to be able to dominate are engineers that are going to use AI just as a tool to be able to experiment quicker and move faster.
We are just talking about how to do proper AI code review. Are there actually other AI topic you are working on?
Yes, so recently I've been working extensively with managing context properly for AI agents, because AI agents are not just a vast window, they actually have a certain context window, and that context window is actually a limit for the amount of data that can be passed into these agents. So I've been really working curiously and trying to dig in, experimenting and testing different approaches to see exactly which best practice of context engineering can be able to feed an AI agent with. Also maybe for coding or peer reviews or automating jobs, automating different tasks. So I've been really trying to experiment in terms of context management with AI agents.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I mean, we are really curious about the result of your experiment. Maybe see you in a few weeks or months to have more insight on
Yes,
that topic.
I would definitely be pleased to take you through the work and the different experiments and everything.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr.